Hey, welcome into the Monday edition. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you. Hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. We got a busy week here for you on the program. Thanksgiving right around the corner, but still a week to go before we get there. Rexrode, how we doing? What's going on?
Doing okay. I'd like to hear about your trip to Colorado. I mean, you told me a lot about it in our extensive pre-show meeting.
Yes.
But, if you tell the people, I'd like, tell the people how the trip
Well,
was.
it was lovely. My first time really seeing the Rocky Mountains, much less being in them. So Friday, did a little hiking. We only got up to like 9,200 feet on Friday. Still pretty high.
That's almost 2 miles.
It's pretty far up there. But a nice little hike. A lot of snow there last week that did not melt, which apparently is not going to melt on top of the mountain. But so like if you look at the pictures, it looks like we're in Hoth from Star Wars, but it was like 56 degrees. So it was pretty cool. Yeah, it was pretty nice. Enjoyed that. Hung out around Denver on Saturday. Found a Tennessee Vols bar on Saturday night. Watched the Tennessee-Georgia game. That one didn't go well.
Well, it was going well for a while.
It was going well for a little bit. And then on Sunday, just kind of hung out. Went to some other towns around Denver. It was nice. Nice trip. A little Rocky Mountain fresh air, baby. I'm rejuvenated. Ready to go.
Nice. Any Rocky Mountain oysters?
Did not have any Rocky Mountain oysters.
Right. Next time.
Next time. May have to get those. Keyser, how we doing? What's going on?
Good morning. Yeah, doing well. Stayed up a little bit for that Preds game last night, but not all of it. Just couldn't make it, man.
How about those Preds?
I know. They finally got a win on the road. Game 3 of 5 on their trip. There you go.
Game 4.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Needed it.
Just gone by so fast. Yeah.
Yeah, they did need it. No doubt about that. We got a lot to get into on the program today. Paul Kuharski from paulkuharski.com will be with us at 7:30. We'll get his thoughts on the Titans' loss to the Vikings yesterday. Titans dropped to 2-8. Corey Curtis will be with us at 8 o'clock for his weekly visit as well from News 2. We will briefly get into Tennessee and Georgia today at some point. We'll kind of focus a little bit more on that tomorrow. But Titans lose 23-13 to the Minnesota Vikings. They dropped to 2-8 on the season. Will Levis, 17-31, 295 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, QB rating of 84.7. But statistically, pretty good day for Will Levis yesterday. And we all know what happens when you throw the ball to Nick Westbrook-Akine. He makes you look smart. That's what he did. 2 catches, 117 yards, including the 98-yard touchdown for NWI yesterday. But Joe, ultimately, not enough again, and the Titans dropped to 2-8. They only scored 13 points. And Will Levis was talking about it after the game of, I haven't won a football game all year, and that's something that I'm chasing down right now. Another disappointing ending for the Tennessee Titans yesterday.
Yeah, good. Very good team. Minnesota is good. I'm very interested today and this week to hear the Will Levis conversation from fans, because I think that's the best he's played easily. I mean, his rating was 104, and he throws throw it up pick at the end. It's too bad for him. He couldn't have had another turnover-free day. To me, it was a turnover-free quality day with, a late heave that gets caught by the other team. But he was pretty good. He's getting better. A lot of things are the same, 13 points, getting the teens somewhere, lose, don't make enough plays, but Levis is at least making it more interesting. And there were some calls yesterday that were absolutely atrocious on the,
no doubt.
Like if the color analyst on the broadcast is almost like losing his mind as much as the coach is. I mean, it wasn't that bad because Brian Callahan absolutely, hey man, if you got the ball at the 1, that's when you get your 15-yard penalty.
Go nuts, man.
Yeah. I mean, okay, great. So move it 6 inches closer. They got 1st and goal inside the 1. I don't care. Get another one. Because that, it was a bad call, obviously.
It's brutal.
Yeah. But, that's one of those, like that call is one of those where you would like it to be almost like in college. In college, you have targeting.
Yeah.
And so the targeting thing gives you that mechanism for review. And, I do feel like something like this that would be good for the NFL to have some sort of review mechanism there, because in real time it did look like, oh my God, what a hit, and a lot of times those get flagged. Then you slow it down, you're like, oh no.
And that's what that was yesterday. It's like, oh, wow, he got hit really hard over the middle. It's got to be a flag. And you go back and you look at it and you're just like, what are we doing? Like, that's as clean as it gets over the middle there. And that's what you first off, I loved Ryan Callahan losing his mind on that play. Like, every now and then I think it's warranted to do that and to just go nuts. And I'm glad that he did it. And like you said, where they were on the field, I mean, it's not really hurting you when you're doing that at that point. But we've got to come up with a way to not just immediately default to, oh my God, he got hit hard, so it's got to be a flag. And that's what this has turned into. And it's brutal to watch at times. Just brutal.
Yeah. I mean, that's why the review is worthwhile, because like the defenseless player thing is, I get it, I mean, it's good to protect guys like that. But yeah, I mean, if you're actually not hitting someone in the head, if you hit him in the head there, then fine. Yeah. I mean, that's what it is. It looked like it could have been. Now, again, that's still watching on like TV from afar. It looked like it could have been. You would hope that like being closer, like the officials were, would give you a better look. But it's bang bang. But again, then you can look at it and say, okay, no. And instead, it's like you throw the flag or you don't. And that's it. It's kind of like the Vols, the face mask call on Georgia. Again, not reviewable. Most refs are going to call a face mask in that situation, whether it is or not.
Well, and then you have the the pool report after the game. So Nick Suss is asking Cleet Blakeman about it, and it just the total like acting like we're just dumb. So the question about Suss basically asked him just what the decision was there and what they saw it. Well, we had two officials call it. Essentially, the defensive player launched into the receiver, who's considered a defenseless player, and there was helmet contact to the chest and neck area. And so apparently, he went on this big thing about how they were in line together with their decision. Both of them saw it and all this other thing. It's like every now and then it's okay to just say, you know what? Hey, guys, we screwed one up. Like that, it's okay to just every now and then say, you know what? It's a fast game in real time. It looked more violent than it actually was. It looked like an illegal hit. We screwed it up. Our bad.
That'd be great, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be refreshing? Yeah, I mean, again, I don't remember, did the rules analyst, Sterator, he did get upset about the call on James Williams, the horse collar.
Yes.
So it's always good when the rules analyst actually says he doesn't like a call. That's always
doesn't happen very often.
No, I mean and that's the thing. It's like at that point, I guess I would hope that the ref would have watched the replay. I'm sure they did. At that point, when they're doing the pool report, they didn't launch. I mean, that's just inaccurate. Like if you've seen the replay at that point and you're saying launch, it wasn't. It was a bang bang play, and he hit him, but there was no launching. So yeah, it's just lying basically.
Right. Like that's what I'm saying. Like they think we're all idiots. We can't use our eyeballs.
So this is one of those situations where, to me, they need more. So this is where accountability comes in, and it's a real problem to me with officiating. They don't want the public to know what their evaluations of officials are. They don't want to know who got fined. They don't want to know who got taken off games the next week. They want to keep that private. Well, this is where, and honestly, this is where, and I know the whole league would frown on this, but like if I'm Amy Adams Strunk, I'm like, you know what? I want the people to know that they came back to us and said, yeah, we were wrong.
Yep.
And I'll pay your fine, Brian. But, that probably won't happen, and we won't know. Now, sometimes coaches will kind of, hint at it, let it slip in here and there. And obviously, Brian Callahan has done that a little bit this year with other stuff. But
I was interested to see if Brian Callahan would take the Josh Heupel approach of being asked about a penalty and just turning the microphone around and letting the reporters discuss it.
He tried to get Sparkles to, he tried to get him to, here, you say it, man.
That was pretty good. I don't know that I've seen that one before.
No, that was interesting. Good. Yeah. That was interesting.
Was, if that call doesn't go against the Titans, do they win the game yesterday? I don't know. Like it's hard to really know that, but I mean, it's a fourth down play. It's fourth down. Like I saw some people on Twitter, around the league, there's like, that's a 4-point swing for the Titans. It's like, no, that's a 7-point swing for the Vikings against the Titans. It's fourth down.
Yeah. It's Titans ball. Well, and then look, as they're trying to make a comeback, I mean, and again, Adam Archuleta was furious at the officials, but the Brownlee illegal contact thing. It was press coverage on Justin Jefferson. I mean, talk about a star call. That was bad, and that led to a touchdown too. Now, granted, you also don't have to let them then rip through you like a knife through hot butter after that if you're the Titans. But the fact is, those touchdowns, key penalties were preceded all three of theirs, and then of course the Hopkins or the Ridley touchdown was a beautiful pass by Levis, gets taken away by Isaiah Prince. Let's try you at right tackle. Hey, can I line up at H-back? No, you have to line up on the line, Isaiah. Okay, Nick, you go back in. Oh God, everybody cover your eyes.
Like, wow, you're 6 yards in the backfield. How's that going back there?
Can I get a carry?
Well, it couldn't hurt yesterday. That's the one thing, we're going to talk a lot about Levis today, obviously. The total inability to run the ball yesterday was not good for the Titans. They ended up 19
we haven't
carries
seen that much
for 33 yards. That's 1.7 a carry. And by the way, 19 carries for 33 yards. The leading rusher was Will Levis, 7 carries for 18 yards, which means Spears had 3 for 0 and Pollard 9 for 15. Not a good day running the ball yesterday.
No, and that's one thing that we're not used to seeing. Look, it's a very good defense. I will give the Titans credit. Now, not for their offensive line play, which, again, speaking of Adam Archuleta's anger, he was just blown away by their inability to communicate protections.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they hit him over the top.
Yeah.
And I give Levis credit for seeing things. That is obviously, as we've talked about, that defense has confounded many a quarterback, and they hit him over the top, But, yeah, the inability to run the ball, we're very – I mean, it's indicative, I think, of the Vikings defense, but also I would never expect the Titans to be in a game not being able to run the ball at all.
No doubt. 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. We're off and running today on the Titans. They lose 23-13 to the Minnesota Vikings. They dropped to 2-8. Will Levis, 17-31, 295 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick yesterday. Is he starting to turn a corner? And if so, what does that mean for the quarterback discussion for this franchise moving forward? We'll get your thoughts on all that. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Titans lose 23-13 to Minnesota. By the way, Minnesota moves to 8-2. Titans to 2-8. Quick side note: NFC North right now. Lions are 9-1. Vikings are 8-2. Packers are 7-3. It's quite the division.
It is quite the division. And the Bears almost had a win. They had their own kicker issues, I guess. Bears and the Bengals.
I'm sure that'll come up with Corey Curtis a little bit later.
Yeah.
I'm sure that'll come up.
You kept your mouth shut the whole time in that text thread with Ryan from Chicago.
I did. It happens every time.
And then you had the little laughing emoji.
The little Ryan Gosling laughing.
Ryan Gosling laughing.
Oh, yep, there you go. Who could have seen that one coming?
Save it for then.
Titans lose 23-13. Taking your thoughts, 615-737-1025. Let's go to our 1025 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Josh in Cookeville. Josh, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Morning, Robby. Morning, Joe. How are you guys?
Good, man.
Good.
Good. So I was listening to Mike Keith yesterday on my way home from church, and he talked about that we had the third most penalized crew going into the game. I know we had lots of mental mistakes, so I don't want to blame the rest for everything, but why is it the Titans seem to get the most penalized crews in our games?
Yep, thanks for the call, Josh. I guess referring to the actual
most penalties called
itself.
Yeah, like how much they call penalties.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know. Like, I mean, I think the refs get thrown around, dispersed for the most part pretty evenly. But I mean, look, after some of the calls that went their way yesterday, we talked about, the week before with the fumble and in LA too. Like, it does just feel like right now, whenever there's a call that's a big call in the game, the Titans are on the wrong side of it. Do I believe like this is some National Football League conspiracy against the Tennessee Titans? No, I don't. But it is like, if you're a player in that locker room, it's like right now, it's like, man, can we get a break on a call at some point? Because it's just not coming right now with the officials.
Yeah. And it's not like it's a weekly thing, but there have been other times this year, of course, where I think they had legitimate beef, and no time more than yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know the answer in terms of what the crews they get. They've had several different crews and different levels of, because I mean, I know Mike likes to he lays it out there in terms of what they call more and all that stuff. Has them, it's. I mean, have they had Blakeman this year before this? I don't even know.
Well, in some crews, like Mike Keith's always done a good job of this. Like, some crews are more apt to call holding on you. Some crews are more apt to, really dig in on blocking the back. Like, it's kind of interesting to break down when you go crew by crew.
Yeah, it's a lot of the, what people really focus on is how much they call, holding downfield on the defense, PI, legal contact, because certainly there's definitely some subjectivity there, and some crews let a lot more go than others. Again, from what I saw yesterday, some of the stuff that was going on, that Brownlee call on Jefferson was just a killer, I mean, that's just keeps a drive alive, and then, the Titans had all the momentum, but there's also maybe something to, and actually, Brian Callahan said this a few weeks ago, but it's like sometimes you make your own luck, and sometimes frankly, he didn't say this, but like, if you're a bad team, a lot of times you don't get the benefit of the doubt. It's probably not fair, but that's how it goes sometimes.
Yep. So Will Levis, 17-31, 295, a touchdown, a pick, QB rating of 84.7 yesterday. Had the big play down the field to NWI. Had another one to Ridley that was taken off the board. Had another great pass down the field to Bryce Oliver as well. I believe that one was for 33.
And that was right after the Ridley TD got taken off the board.
Exactly. So some plays down the field from Will Levis yesterday that were really, really good. I mean, obviously, when you get a 98-yard touchdown, that's going to be the headliner of your day throwing the football. And that was I'll be honest with you, when they dropped back on that play, given where they were on the field, I was watching it and I was saying, oh, no. And then he let it go, and it was a perfect pass. Hit NWI in stride. And when the defender, you can tell the defender just slipped a little bit, and then he was gone off to the races. So a great play there, obviously, from Levis. NWI makes the play, takes off running down the field. And I saw the stat where he's got more touchdowns than all these big name receivers in the league right now, including AJ Brown, by the way. So who needs AJ Brown when you got NWI?
Exactly.
But overall, I think a pretty good day from Will Levis. What did you make of his performance yesterday? And what do you make now of back-to-back weeks where, it hasn't been perfect. And again, we're talking about an offense that can't get to 20 points. But the quarterback play the last 2 weeks has been certainly improved from where we saw it earlier in the year.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Look, he's getting better. And that's what you want to see. It's, as we know, it's been rough. I think just the biggest thing is I just feel like the crazy play stuff has kind of gotten out of his system, Like it's not like, I don't even feel like he's really been close in the last 2 weeks. Again, he threw the pick late, throwing the ball up, but I can't think of a situation where it was like, oh my God, did he get lucky on that one? Maybe I'm forgetting something. But for the most part, the biggest issue for them, obviously, the last 2 weeks and the last 3 seasons and all that is protection is bad. And yesterday, I don't really put the sacks on him either. Last week, there's a lot of talking. It was fair. A couple times where it's like, man, you got to get out of there or you got to get rid of the ball or whatever. Yesterday, I feel for the most part when and it was, I think, 5 sacks and he got hit a bunch of times, it's pretty much just terrible blocking, terrible pass blocking. So you think about him standing in his own end zone with a blitz in his face, a guy about to hit him, and he makes that throw to NWI. He's certainly not afraid to hang in there, and he's a tough player. So no, there's a lot to like about what he's done. Don't want to overreact like Ben is saying. I feel Levis is going to be the 25 version of Daniel Jones contract, and then won't be the guy, but we'll be stuck with him. He's had a couple good games. Right. I wouldn't assume anything like that. But hey, this is what the Titans have been wanting to see. Titans fans have been wanting to see. So even if you're quote unquote out on Will Levis, it's still better. It's better this than just continue to struggle like that. Let's see where it goes.
It's good to see something like we talked about, something different, something new, and some improvement. There's no doubt the last 2 weeks he's played better. Why is that? I don't know. Maybe getting a few weeks off was good for him to mentally reset. But like you said, I think the thing that stands out the most is some of the dumb decisions and bad turnovers are out of his game right now. Even the pick yesterday. You're late in the game, you're down, and you're having to try to push the ball down the field. So, the interception looks rough, but in situation of the game, it just kind of is what it is there. I thought he was really sound in his decision making, particularly given what you said, the circumstances. Minnesota ends up with 5 sacks, credited with 9 quarterback hits yesterday. So he was getting hit pretty often in the game and was still able to stand in there and deliver some good balls. And like you said, this is a defense that has given most of the quarterbacks that they've played this year a lot of trouble with what they do with their scheme, what they do after the ball is snapped. A lot of offensive coordinators, Brian Callahan talked about that last week. It's a very complicated defense to prepare for, and I thought Levis handled that pretty well yesterday for the most part.
Yeah, no, they made him pay, and that's what you have to try to do. Jared from Spring Hill, Levis looked like how he did last year. Yay, we've seen this already. Well, but see, last year when he, it was 2 really good games, especially that's why there was hope for this year.
Yeah.
So if he carried over, if he played like he did the last 2 games all of this year, then it'd be a
conversation.
Yeah, then it'd be about what I thought, which is good enough to be the starter next year. I wouldn't say that right now after 2 games like this, after everything that's happened, but I don't know. I think yesterday was a step forward for him, and I think in some ways you could look at that and say it's the best he's played at all in the NFL.
I thought particularly with, taking some of the chances down the field and the accuracy with the ball. That to me, and we've talked about this with him, how accurate can you be consistently with the football? I think still is a big question with him moving forward. The last 2 weeks, he's been pretty accurate with it, which I think is, it's not like he was perfect yesterday, but for the most part, even pushing the ball down the field, Levis and his accuracy was pretty good yesterday.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just you're reminded that when they do take shots, he really has a feel for that. I think there's still some of the the outcuts where it'll sail on him and things like that. And some good throws on those two, but especially pushing downfield. He just has he's got a really good touch on the ball, and it's just an easy. I mean, he can just get it down there so easily, with that arm strength.
Take more of your thoughts on Will Levis, his performance yesterday against Minnesota. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Taking your thoughts on the Titans. Will Levis and his performance yesterday. Another step forward for the Titans quarterback. Back-to-back weeks where Levis has played pretty well. And I would say this game, a step forward from even what we saw against LA the week before. Some big plays down the field. Obviously, the 98-yarder to NWI. Taking your thoughts on the Titans quarterback as a whole. And really my question is, look, they're 2-8. We all know the season's not going anywhere. My question is, what does it mean for him moving forward? Where is he at right now in terms of how he's viewed within that organization, how they view the quarterback position, and how have the last 2 weeks potentially impacted that? I'm with you. Certainly, it's been a very positive step in the right direction for Levis the last 2 weeks. By no means am I really even close to willing to sit here and say, well, that means he's back next year, and he's a starting quarterback. There's still been a lot of bad that we've seen that he's had to overcome. It is very encouraging that he has been able to do that to this point and has played really well the last 2 weeks. I guess big picture, what does it all mean, and how much more of this do the Titans have to see? What do the Titans have to see to feel good about going with him again next year? Because to me now, at 2-8, it was about that anyway. It's really about that now. That's what the rest of the season is about.
100%. And look, so that was game 16 for him. So basically he now is at that, one season in the league. It's just, to me, it's is this what he is? And then is he going to keep building from here? Okay, well, if that's the case, then yeah, I think the conversation has to change. But 2 games, it's just, can he keep doing it? And then again, you're judging him. And it is hard because although NWI has emerged as all pro level playmaker in the NFL, he has decent skill around him. He has atrocious line play, like LD from McMinnville points out. I mean, there were a couple pressures yesterday where Flores dropped 8, and I understand that you got a twist and you got communication mix up and stuff like that, but 3 guys rushing against 5 blocking, and Levis has 0.9 of a second to throw. It's insane. It's just, so we're judging him, and he just does not get the same support that a lot of quarterbacks on the good teams in this league get. So you have to keep that in mind. But still, we saw, like you said, there's a lot of bad early in the year, and it's just a lot of it was just straight up on him and on no one else. Last 2 weeks, again, I think especially yesterday. Yesterday was a step up from the last week, which was a step up from what he'd been doing. Is that keep happening, or even can he just kind of be right in this range over and over again? If that's the case, then I do think the conversation changes a little bit.
I'm with you there. I still big picture. What does it all mean from this standpoint? There was a lot of really good from him yesterday, right? It's also 3 points in the first half, 13 points in total. And I get it. You mentioned it, the protection the last 2 weeks has just been brutal. You thought maybe the Titans were taking a step in terms of their protection. Hey, look, right tackle's been a problem in every game this year, and it's going to continue to be a problem as they move forward here. I mean, when you're bringing in Prince off the street and lining him up 7 yards in the backfield to play right tackle, just kind of shows you where you're at right now. So that's not going to get any better as they move forward here. The right tackle is going to be a big problem with them all year long. But it did feel like, some other places on the line, you were starting to see some progress. How much of that was progress? How much of that was maybe not playing as good of fronts as they've seen the last 2 weeks in Minnesota? I don't know. And by the way, they got one coming up in Houston that could potentially give them some problems.
Yeah, it might be a little
coming up on Sunday. So there's that to look forward to as well. But that's the confounding part about all this is, when Levis wasn't playing all that great, the Titans found a way to end up 16, 17 points. When Rudolph was in there, they found a way to end up 16, 17 points. Last 2 weeks, Levis played pretty well, and they've ended up with 17 points and 13 points. It is kind of mystifying that really no matter what quarterback play has looked like, the end result is basically been the same with this Titans offense.
Yeah, they're pretty much, hey, defense, can you hold the other team to 10? Then I really feel like this team's got a chance. Yeah. That is one way or another, they're going to end up right around that range, which is, just like claw your eyes out at points, when you're just like, it just doesn't matter what happens. Like someone pointed out here, Joe Burrow's got 3,000 yards, 27 touchdowns, 4 picks. And the Bengals are 4-7, but they are scoring points.
They are.
They said they just can't hit a field goal. But yeah, look, I think when you can't run the ball yesterday, and the red zone is still another big thing, obviously, with this team. I mean, there's a lot of issues with the offense in general, but the actual play of the quarterback was you would take that the rest of the year if you're the Titans.
No doubt. Especially compared to what it has been before that. Travis from Mount Juliet says, how much do we think the Green Bay offensive line contributes to how well Malik is playing compared to how he did in Nashville? And do we fear the same may happen to Levis if we write him off? There's no doubt that the protection situation, and we talked about this with Tannehill at the end of it, certainly with Levis, the protection situation is about as bad as it gets, and it has been for the last 3 years with the Titans. So, like, if Levis was the quarterback now of, I hate to say the Lions because they're kind of an extreme example, but of a competent offensive line, how much different would it look? I don't know. Like, it'd certainly probably be better, right? Like, if the conditions around him were better, that has to help your quarterback at some point. Now, like, some of the throws and decisions that Levis were making earlier in the year, I don't really care who your offensive line is. It was just dumb decision making from the quarterback. Last 2 weeks, he's, I think, really taken a step in that area, which is really good to see. The protection continues to be a problem. And one thing I do wonder about, Joe, he's done such a good job of standing in there and being unafraid to make the throws and all those things. Like, does that catch up to you at some point? Like, if you can't allow your quarterback to be hit 9 times a game and think that that's going to lead to any sort of long-term success. Like, you can't sustain that at the quarterback position.
Well, that's hits in the pocket and pass plays.
Correct.
They also now are using him as a runner, which is interesting. That they had the big play, which is read option, which was his fault. I mean, you have to hand that.
He got smoked.
He got absolutely. So between both of those things, yeah, he's taking a lot of hits. I mean, again, he's holding up. He's a big, strong guy.
He is.
But yeah, that's
I forgot about
that's
that.
Got to change. Yeah,
I forgot about that read option play. He got annihilated.
I'm like,
on that play.
Yeah, that's definitely the one you hand that one. So no, look, I mean, he just seems like he's sort of calmed down in some ways, If he had protection and he had like a burner too.
Yeah.
That is like, this is a guy that if he's your quarterback, you have to find opportunities to push the ball down the field. I mean, that's where he can give you an advantage that some QBs can't do the way he does it. So it's hard when that's your strength and you can't count on your protection. And look, again, NWI got 98-yard TD pass yesterday. So, hey, it happened, but you can't protect. And then you also don't have really the speed guy. I mean, Ridley's fast too. And again, that was a beautiful TD pass to him. More of that is what you want to lean to. It's just hard with the personnel around him to do it too much.
Hey, 58.5 a catch for NWI yesterday. That's a pretty good number. 58.5 per catch.
Is that right?
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Well, 2 catches, but
Levis also missed him on. There was one in the fourth where then his eyes were to the left on the play, but if he came off that, he had NWI it would have been about another 50.
Look, man, the guy does nothing but get open and catch the ball.
Tell you what,
nothing but get open and catch the ball.
And make interesting dances.
Yeah. 615-737-1025, our phone number. More of your thoughts to get to on Will Levis on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll do that next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
show you the kind of poise and playmaking that you've been waiting on from him?
Yeah, I thought Will did a really nice job today. That part was encouraging. I thought he stood in the pocket, played tough. He was accurate. There's going to be things that we need to clean up, but managing that game against that defense, the complexity of it, all the things that we have in our plan that you have to handle all the things that they do. I thought he did a really nice job. I thought that was another positive step for Will, and I'm proud of the way he played. He fought, he battled. He stood in there and took a few and delivered some really nice throws. And, I wish there was more to show for it.
As Brian Callahan yesterday after the game, Titans lose 23-13 to Minnesota. Taking your thoughts on Will Levis on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Let's go back to our 1025 The Game phone line. Welcome in Chad in Nashville. Chad, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, morning, guys. When I look at these two quarterbacks in yesterday's game, Darnold and Levis, and it's hard not to see similarities, not necessarily in their game, but in the situations and the way that they were brought into the NFL. Both brought in with, Sam maybe more hype drafted earlier, but brought in, ended up both starting too quick. Both of them weren't ready to play. But then look at the journey Darnold has. And I almost wonder if that ain't going to similar something will happen with Levis, where we'll see him resurface down the road ultimately. And I thought Will looked pretty good. A lot of ankle passes. I counted 4 ankle passes to receivers, and I'm not sure what that is, but just wondering what your thoughts are on that whole process. Could they end up mirroring each other down the road? Because Sam's getting paid next year.
Yep. Thanks for the call, Chad. I mean, we've kind of talked about that.
Kuharski's, that's
Kuharski's
his scenario.
Yeah,
he totally thinks that's happening.
Well, and I've said this about Darnold. Look where he got drafted. They got drafted to the Jets, and it's just been a total tire fire there for over a decade at this point. He goes from the Jets to Carolina, and then he ends up in San Francisco in a good situation where he's the backup. And we've had Charles Robinson on, and he's talked about it. Like the improvements that Darnold made in San Francisco were a real thing. And now you go to a situation in Minnesota where you have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison throw the ball to. You have what I think is a really good coach in Kevin O'Connell. And the situation is just good. And a situation for quarterback matters a lot. It's not everything. Like there are quarterbacks. I mean, quarterback's main job is to make the situation better. And there are a lot of quarterbacks that do that. But there's no doubt that situation is very important in these quarterback discussions. And look, I don't know what it means for Will Levis. Again, I'm not going crazy today on the Will Levis thing. He played really well. He's played well for 2 games in a row. Now, can you keep doing it? Can you keep doing it as you move forward? Because he's going to have to, I think, if he's going to be their plan at quarterback heading into next year. But look, I'm not going to be naive to the fact that the situation around him has been pretty bad from the moment he stepped foot here. And somewhere else down the road, does he end up looking more like a Sam Darnold? That absolutely could happen. We see it increasingly more and more in today's NFL.
Yeah. To the point of to the point of like the ankle passes, there are still layups or close to layups where it's like, man, you got to hit that one. I mean, he misses, I think, a little bit too many of those. But then again, he is making way more big time throws. That's what we were talking about earlier. It's like, not only is he making these mistakes, like where's the, you're not even seeing that arm talent show up. Well, now we are. So that's good. Look, I'm with you. It's not, that's why I am interested this week to hear the discussion from a lot of people about this, because it is getting better. And you get your mind made up on something, and it's way hard to make it to change it, which is natural. And I have no idea what the Titans, how they view this, but I do know that the next draft is underwhelming at quarterback, that the Titans have tremendous needs beyond quarterback. And, and the veteran possibilities, there's more possibility there because trades happen, but right now there's no obvious answer there. Right. So if he keeps playing like this again, then that would kind of move into the scenario that I predicted, which is he's okay. He's pretty good. It's enough to get next year. It's not enough to have this long-term commitment. And if that's how it works out, in theory, you could fix right tackle. In theory, you can make things better around him, right? Make things better for the team and have a better look next year. And then, then you don't have the scenario where you give up and he reemerges and he's comeback player of the year in 3 years and
for the Arizona Cardinals
with the Raiders or whatever, you
Right.
know. But again, this is all like just like you said. Let's see next week. Does he do it again? Week after week, does he do it? I mean, Anthony Richardson was phenomenal.
He was awesome.
Yeah, out of nowhere,
Yeah.
he's phenomenal against the Jets this last week. He leads them. They're behind. He makes huge throws, and then he, of course, runs it in to win the game. So you never know with these young quarterbacks.
You know who else was good yesterday? Your boy Taysom Hill looked awesome.
Oh God,
yesterday.
yeah, jogging.
Shout out to the Cleveland Browns. It's good stuff.
The Browns let him jog to a 75-yard touchdown. Good job, Cleveland.
We got a couple texts about that today. Hey, Joe, what'd you think about Taysom Hill yesterday?
That's my boy.
Yeah, all
That's my
right. Get in there. Here's the, we talked about the record. It is what it is. They're 2-8. We all know this season isn't going anywhere. There is the one thing about that I think is really interesting to monitor here. Like, we all know the Titans are bad. They're going to finish with a bad record. I guess the question at this point is how bad is it going to be? Are we talking 3-14? Are we talking, 5-12? Like, what does it end up looking like at the end of the year? And that's interesting to me from the quarterback discussion from this standpoint. We talked about the front office a lot last week. Let's say they decide to keep them at the end of the year and they run this thing back with everybody involved. Like, how does that influence the way they view quarterback? Like, if Carthon and Brinker are back this offseason, I feel good about Callahan being back. But you also, I think, have to know, if you're all of those guys, that if your record next year doesn't get dramatically better, there's probably a pretty good chance that you're gone after that. So how does that influence the decision you make at quarterback? Like, if Levis keeps playing like this, close to it the last 2 weeks, and that's what he is the rest of the year, like, do you look at it and say, you know what? We like what we saw from Levis the second part of the season. He seemed to settle into Brian Callahan's system and what he wants to do. And we know we got to win next year. Like, we know we got to put together a good record. And the best way to do that is to bring him back rather than drafting some rookie and letting him come in here and go through this whole process again. Like, the record part of this is interesting to me from that perspective, because, that is a thing in the NFL. Job preservation sometimes happens in the National Football League. And I wonder how that influences quarterback as they move forward here.
Yeah, I guess there's definitely truth. I agree in the idea of the rookie QB thing is if you have to hit something next year record wise, then you can't feel good about it. Again, that's also one of those things where, I mean, like, Amy has to be involved in the discussions too.
For sure.
But I would say that your best bet then is still to get a veteran, right? If you can get
one.
If you can get one, if you can get Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Did you like how Sam Darnold looked? Because he's going to be probably somewhere else next year. Jared thinks they're going to tag and trade him. Maybe. I mean, maybe they'll try to do that, but he's going to be somewhere else next year. I'm pretty sure.
Just take J.J. McCarthy.
What's that?
Just trade for J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah. Well, if they'll. I wouldn't do
They
that.
say that we love Sam Darnold, so you guys can have J.J. McCarthy.
That's the thing. I mean,
I have no idea what he is.
I have no idea either. I'd take Will Levis over J.J. McCarthy right now.
I probably would too, but that's just because, he's just a total unknown.
Right. And usually they don't work out.
Usually not. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Titans lose 23-13 to Minnesota yesterday. More reaction to that coming up next. Paul Kuharski from paulkuharski.com will be with us at 7:30. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keys are here with you on this Monday morning. Paul Kuharski from paulkuharski.com will be with us at 7:30. We'll get his thoughts on the Titans' loss to Minnesota yesterday. Corey Curtis from News 2 coming up at 8 o'clock for his weekly visit as well. Titans lose 23-13. They dropped to 2-8 on the year. By the way, I saw this all over Twitter yesterday, and you could tell on the TV broadcast. A lot of Minnesota fans at the game. I didn't, you kind of expect it when the Packers are in town. The Steelers have been in town and have taken over that stadium before. A lot of Vikings fans at Nissan Stadium yesterday.
Yeah,
it's very loud.
People talking about it being one of the most obvious takeovers. Again, obviously the state of the Titans is part of that.
Yep.
The state of the Vikings is part of that, and tremendously surprising, great season. Now, I remember the last time the Vikings came here, which would have been 8 years ago, and I don't remember anything else to do with it. That was the same year the Packers came here.
Yep.
And the Packers did have, you were there, they had a lot of people here. I don't remember the Vikings really, but I guess Skull, they're just really excited up there, baby.
I guess so. Look, when you got Sammy Darnold playing the way that he's playing, how could you not be excited?
Yeah, well, he made a few plays where the Titans, because the thing is, you know a guy who yesterday almost had a monster day.
Who's that?
T'Vondre
He
Sweat.
did, yeah.
I mean, T'Vondre Sweat was all in the backfield, all over Darnold. He just couldn't quite get him to the ground.
Yeah.
So on one hand, like, it was encouraging in terms of him getting off blocks and like his quickness getting back there. But yeah, you got to still make the play. Darnold made some tremendous escapes and throws out that were like big time plays.
Yep, no doubt about it. And another loss for the Titans. You could see it. First off, Brian Callahan was pretty frustrated in the post-game press conference yesterday, and a lot of that was about the penalties. And so the penalties came up, and you could just tell he really had wanted no part of talking about that at the end. We've talked a lot about the penalties so far on the show today. Like Levis, I think there's a lot to like, and if you're him, a lot of confidence to be built from the way that you've played the last 2 weeks. And yet in his post-game press conference answers yesterday, he's telling me, he's like, I haven't won a football game all year. And his voice was kind of breaking up when he was talking about it. You could tell it's getting to him. So like at the end of the day, the result is really what matters. If you're on the team and you're trying to find as many wins as possible, I do hope that, like, individually, looking at the way that he's played, that he takes confidence away from that. Because we talked about that earlier this year when it was going as poorly as it was going, both from a team result standpoint and the way that he was playing individually. I mean, your confidence has to be shot at that point. And to his credit, he's always done a good job of standing in there, and he's not been afraid to take the hit to make a play, all those type of things. But confidence, you could see it. Like, it just didn't feel like he had a whole lot of it. And now with the last 2 weeks, hopefully he finds some of that, and that leads to more success for him individually as he moves forward.
Yeah, no, you can see it for sure. And even some of those, the one big play to Oliver after they took off the TD to Ridley, sort of like look at the sideline. I mean, if that guy plays well, then he is a guy like you're happy to have him as your quarterback. And the opponent can't stand him. It's just a matter of, and you're seeing a little bit more of that swagger come out, which of course comes and goes with good or bad play. Dustin from Hopkinsville. Honestly, Levis right on schedule for making boneheaded rookie mistakes at tipping over until developing. That's why I said you give him the season. It's a long process. I look for us to screw it up, let him go. He goes elsewhere and balls out. I'll follow him if he does. I'm over this mediocrity. Mediocrity? Is that a new word?
I like it.
The Titans run a mediocrity. Yeah. Well, maybe. Hey, maybe that's what's going to happen. Maybe the Titans are going to give up and he's going to go. Again, it's just right now they have all these games, and really, if it wasn't for Levis, then really it's just talking about the draft pick again.
Yeah.
Right. And some other guy, like, again, Sweat yesterday, to me, that was a glimpse of, he can make plays beyond just sitting there and saying, occupying two blockers. Got to make the plays. But So there are other guys. We'll see if they'll ever have their cornerbacks on the field. What would that mean for their defense? Yeah. I mean, at some point, right?
I don't know. I guess. The quad's a doozy for old L'Jarius Sneed. Get that thing healed up, man. Get it back out there. I got one texter that says, Levis and his decision-making are an issue, but the problems with his team are far deeper. I'm not saying that Levis is a good QB, but Callahan and his staff have let him down time after time. Callahan deserves more of the blame as to why the Titans are garbage. Even when Levis isn't rolling the ball on the ground like an idiot, there's close to 100 penalty yards and gross mismanagement of the game by the head coach and his staff. This is from an unnamed texter on the text line. Not a big Brian Callahan guy.
Well, I will say, first of all, I'm with you. I enjoyed. I think Callahan was dead on in getting after the refs on those penalties. I mean, the penalties yesterday, obviously, you can't have the legal formation thing and line up on the line. One of them, it didn't look.
I was about to say there was one at least, maybe a couple where I was just like, really?
It was so subtle. And remember, early in the year they were calling these. And it was like an inch off the line. It's like, really, this is what we're going to do now. This is the big focus. Because, all football fandom really doesn't, can't have those offensive linemen an inch off the, stuff like that is just so dumb. I will say, one of my big criticisms beyond special teams, which, by the way, yesterday wasn't atrocious, but there were a couple, almost a punt block and, a couple returns that were a little bit too much, but hey.
Given the way it's gone, I'll take yesterday.
Low.
Yeah.
Still the operation in terms of getting the plane and stuff, that continues to be something you expect to see a couple times a game. Got to clean that up for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think some of the play calling is good, and some of the failures to score, I think I still would say are more personnel related than coaching related. But I guess it's all interrelated.
I would agree with that. Although what I said earlier, it's still kind of amazing to me that really, regardless of the way the quarterback has played, whether it's been really bad or good or somewhere in between, they still, generally speaking, end up right around the same spot. 13, 16, 17. I think they did get to 20 once during this stretch, and they got to 30 in Miami. But for the most part, it's right around the same.
Yeah, one way or another, that's where they're going to end up. Now it's and think about it, like they're at 6, if not for the longest touchdown pass in Titans history, in franchise history, tied for the longest for like a play that happened in 1962.
Look
for the AFL.
In all seriousness, I mean, I said it earlier when they dropped back on that play, I was like, oh God, what are they doing? And then it's great play, great throw. I mean, that's a heck of a throw that he makes on that play.
Yeah.
When you talk about the pressure that's coming right up the middle, and he just delivers the ball. I mean, NWI didn't even have to break stride on that play. It was a great ball.
It was, yeah. To get him to 13.
Yeah.
They got to 13.
They did. 615-737-1025. Our phone number, 615-737-1025. Paul Kuharski coming up at 7:30. More of your reaction to Will Levis's performance yesterday. The Titans lost to Minnesota. Coming up next, Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063 The Game. This week's Nashville's best deal is Bavarian Beer House, Nashville's only authentic German beer hall, a place full of fun, food, music, and most importantly, beer. Enjoy traditional German beer, brats, giant pretzels, and more in their expansive beer hall and garden. Head to thegamenashville.com/deals to get a $50 gift card for only $25 to Bavarian Beer House while supplies last. Taking your thoughts on the Titans, 23-13 loss to Minnesota yesterday. Paul Kuharski will be with us at 7:30. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. You know, we'll get a little bit more into the Levis stuff with PK coming up here, but as we pointed out yesterday, Joe, 295 yards through the air, just a total inability to run the ball for the Titans on the ground. They ended up with 33 yards on 19 carries, 1.7 yards per carry. And by the way, the leading rusher was Will Levis, which, look, Will Levis, we've seen it. He can move a little bit. He can run. But if you're in a situation, if you're the Titans, where Will Levis ends up being your leading rusher at the end of the game, that's probably not a good sign for the way your running game is going. And it certainly wasn't yesterday.
Yeah, Vikings were all over all that stuff, all over Pollard. You know, Spears gets hurt. So he didn't, he only played about half the game, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. But they're all over it. They're all over the Titans with their pass rush, but with different looks. Again, they were all over Levis at times, rushing 3, which is a problem. So the fact that Levis hits him for 295 is impressive. You know, I mean, he was still able to stand in there at times. Again, they protected him well at times. It wasn't like, they hit him a lot. They sacked him 5 times. There were times when he had enough time. They figured it out, and he was able to make him pay. And then there were times where, when the TD NWI, Flores sent the house there, and they were coming. And Levis stood in there and made, as you said, a tremendous throw. But, yeah, this team, as we've discussed, if you're not running the ball, it's hard to imagine you're going to have much success or have a chance to win a game. And the fact that they really did have a chance is kind of amazing yesterday.
It really is. What did you make of the way the defense played? You know, we've talked about the penalties. Obviously, that's a big takeaway, big part of the game yesterday is not only the one in the end zone, which you and I both agree is just an atrocious call there, but the Brownlee penalty on Jefferson in press coverage. There are a few penalties that just did not go the Titans' way yesterday. Overall, what did you make of the way the Titans defense played?
I think Jeff Simmons continues to play well. I think, like I said, T'Vondre Sweat, I thought those two guys, that looked more like I thought we'd see more often this year, where they were causing havoc. They were really causing problems for the Vikings. Problem for the Titans is that Darnold he's a lot more escapable than you realize. And he's got a real knack for getting out of sacks and then keeping his eyes downfield and making you pay. And he did that several times. I thought they did a pretty good job on Jefferson. I mean, even like Baker, at times, like really competitive. And of course, Brownlee, again, they're missing the 2 corners that were supposed to be huge parts of the defense this year. So overall, I thought it was a pretty good performance from the defense. You also lost Jack Gibbons, and that is tough because he actually
did not look good.
That did not look good. That did not look good at all. And that's too bad because he's been a good story this year. He's ready. He's the defensive NWI. You put him in, and he's good. He's better than people think he is, but he's gone now.
Yeah, I saw a slow-mo that I would not recommend it. Not good from Jack Gibbons yesterday.
And I will not.
Yeah, it's not good. And look, defensively, like you said, Jefferson ends up 6 for 81, which in the grand scheme of things for him is really not that bad. 6 for 81, if that's what you give up to him. We've seen him go for 225 yards on people, so you'll probably take that with Justin Jefferson. Addison made some big plays in the game. He's, that's why you draft a guy like that in the first round. Like he looked really good yesterday. Darnold, making some plays outside of the pocket. Titans did a pretty good job, against them running the ball. We talked about the Titans' inability to run the ball. Minnesota ran it 33 times, only had 82 yards, 2.5 yards per carry. So the Titans did a pretty decent job in keeping them bottled up running the football yesterday. It's just didn't make enough plays defending the passing. Darnold ends up 20 of 32, 246, 2 touchdowns, quarterback rating of 107. He's had a couple games this year where you kind of wonder, all right, is he reverting back to Sam Darnold turning the football over that we've seen throughout his career? But for the most part, he just continues to play pretty good football for Minnesota. And that was the case again yesterday.
Yeah. No, if the Titans would have had the benefit of mistake-prone Darnold yesterday, like the Jags did, then I think the Titans have a great chance to win that game. But he bounced back big time from his previous 2 weeks. But yeah, the Jefferson, I think they had a pretty good plan. The Addison, that huge play was they kind of got caught.
Yeah.
And then as soon as he escapes, now you're just, it's just one of those plays that, again, if you give a quarterback that much time, a lot of times there's going to be a hole. And if he finds it, then you're toast, which they were. It's the same thing. The defense makes some plays, overall looks pretty good. In the end, doesn't make the big play that you need, even when they got hit. Yeah, I don't expect them to stop them at the half-inch line after multiple penalties, on that first one. They got hosed on the penalty. But, like the Brownlee one, that would have been a huge stop. It's unfortunate for the defense. You're allowed to stop them after that, and they didn't. So they're not coming up with the huge plays when you need them to win games.
Yeah.
But overall, are they going to still be the number 1 defense in the NFL after this week?
I don't know. We'll have to take a look.
Let's find out.
We'll have to take a look at it. Look, we've had a lot of questions about the penalties on the text line. We started the show that way. Just it is brutal. I thought it was a brutal day from the officials. Is that why the Titans lost? It's hard for me to go there. But look, that the play where you make the call in the end zone on Mike Brown on the hit. That's a 4th down play. Like if that is called the way that it should have been called, that's a turnover on downs and it's the Titans ball. And instead, between that and Callahan just eviscerating the officials, you end up at the 1 yard line. They score a touchdown. That's 7 points in the game right there. How does the game play out if it doesn't go that way? I don't know. Do I have confidence like the Titans still win if it doesn't go that way? I don't. But that's a huge play. It's a huge call, a huge moment in the game that they're wrong on. And then you come out in the pool report after and you basically double down on the call you made when we all have eyes and we saw that it wasn't a launching into the chest with a helmet of a guy. Like it's just disingenuous. So that really bothers me. And I think if you're a Titans fan today, number 1, the call, and number 2, the doubling down to Nick Suss, who was the pool reporter yesterday by the official, by Clete Blakeman after the game, really bothers me. And look, I really enjoyed seeing Brian Callahan. First off, I enjoy seeing most coaches do that. But every now and then, I think there's a place for that. Like, you just got to lose it every now and then. And I don't know if that's going to have, any sort of galvanizing effect long-term on this team. They're 2-8, and the record kind of is what it is. That's a huge moment in the game yesterday that the officials just blew.
They did. And, in the real time when the play happened, as soon as I saw the hit and I saw the flags, I wasn't immediately like, oh, God. I was like, yeah, that looks like. Then you watch the replay, like, oh, no, actually, it's just he hit him in the shoulder and he didn't launch. He was defenseless, I guess. But, in the moment, it's not the craziest call. We all have the benefit of replay. Okay. It's a bad call. And Brian Callahan watching the board and he goes nuts, and I don't blame him. That play there should be a mechanism, just like college has targeting.
Yeah.
With targeting, you can go back and look. I think plays like this should have that. And I know I'm asking for reviews to be added, but that's a huge, these are 15-yard plays. And in that case, that's 7 points that you cost the Titans. And
that's
you
also,
gave the Vikings.
Let's say that play gets reviewed. That's also a play that, to me, when you review it, it should take about 20 seconds. You're like, oh, yeah, okay. So we missed that one.
Well, a lot of them should take that.
I know.
But then, to your point, that you're going to seriously try to tell us something happened that we all saw didn't happen? That's really ridiculous.
Every now and then it's okay just to say, yeah, man, we screwed that up. Does it make anybody feel any better? No. And does it change the outcome? No. But at least it's a recognition that, yeah, we screwed a call up. To sit here and act like we all don't have eyeballs is insulting.
Yeah. I mean, this is why they shouldn't just do a pool reporter. They should actually let people ask questions, but, we'll never have that.
Yeah.
But you don't even have to say we screwed up. I don't expect you to say that, but just say we thought in real time that there was a launch,
Yeah.
You don't even have to say there wasn't one. Just say, like, we thought there was one, and I'll let you interpret from there. But no, instead, you're actually telling us there was something that we all saw didn't happen.
Yeah. It's just total crap is what it was. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Paul Kuharski from paulkuharski.com will be with us coming up next. We'll get his thoughts on Will Levis's performance, the Titans' loss to Minnesota. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you. Titans fall 23-13 to Minnesota. And to help us talk more about that, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in our man, Paul Kuharski from PaulKuharski.com. PK, good morning. How are you?
Morning, gentlemen. I'm well.
Awesome. Appreciate you taking time to be with us. Levis, 295 yards passing yesterday, had the long 98-yarder to NWI. What have you made of the way that he's played the last 2 weeks here, and how do you think that impacts the discussion with him overall at the quarterback position for the Titans?
I think it's encouraging. I mean, I thought yesterday we saw him make some of the throws that we saw last year that we've been looking for. The throw to NWI on the 98-yarder was great, but there was blown coverage there, right? But the throw off his back foot under pressure to Bryce Oliver was a beauty. The throw to Calvin Ridley for the 51-yard touchdown that got called back. Another throw to NWI, I think, that got called back. There were some throws in this game that I thought we had not seen for a long time that are cause for encouragement. These two games have been significantly better than what he's been doing. Still, the offense only produced 13 points, so you can't get too excited about everything. But I'd say, if you look at Chicago at the beginning of the season to now, if he can make a steady improvement from now with the next 7 games to the end, back at the beginning of the season, that's the kind of steady improvement we were looking for. And it might give you something to contemplate at the end of this thing.
How about the call? We've been talking about it, PK, but the calls. I know you've tweeted about it. You put up the whole back and forth with Nick. I guess was Nick Suss, the pool reporter. But why can't the NFL just don't say a lie in the press release, right? Like, in that conversation, just say, yeah, this is what we thought at the time. And also, do you feel like plays like that need to have a review mechanism?
Yeah, I mean, I think the review mechanism needs to be much more expansive. Titans are generally reluctant. I mean, it doesn't matter what they think. We can get a pool report if we want a pool report. They think like, well, they're not going to say anything. I think they tend to put their foot in their mouth every time they're given a chance to speak. And so that we should have the officials speak every chance that we get about a controversial call, because it only makes it worse. And I want full exposure, right? We want all the transparency that we can get. And I don't think he served to clarify the situation, or he did clarify it somewhat in that, there were really 3 possibilities of what they saw. He said it was launching, and Brown pretty clearly did not leave his feet. And the rule book says to launch, you have to have left your feet. Now, look, I'm somewhat sympathetic because it's an incredibly fast judgment call, and he really sprang his body in a way that you would think he would have left his feet. And so how do you fix that? Well, you look at replay. Teron and I were sitting together looking at the replay that he has on his computer, and it took us 3 or 4 looks to conclude that he didn't leave his feet. So there's how you solve that problem. Look, did a couple of those other calls, were they debatable? I mean, the horse collar apparently wasn't a horse collar. That play didn't kill him. Isaiah Prince, you could say, he was as far off the line as Radens or Latham. Well, those guys should have been closer to the line too. I mean, if you look at a freeze frame of that, they're all really far off the line. And when it's already become an issue in the game, just get your asses closer to the line and make it a non-issue. There's no conspiracy against the Titans. The league has no interest in the Titans losing. If you're saying that, you're saying they want the Vikings to win. Well, how does the league stack the NFC North then? Do they prefer Green Bay or Minnesota or Detroit?
Yeah, that's a good question. I really enjoyed Callahan losing his mind after that call in the end zone. I think there's a time and place for it. I think that was a good time, good place. What did you make of his reaction?
Yeah. Only cost him half a yard, got the crowd riled up, got his team riled up. I think that did more for Callahan with the fan base than virtually anything that's happened since the season started, and was very cathartic for him. I had no problem with it, and I think it served him well. And good job by Brian Bell, who got in the middle of it.
He did.
I'm having Robby brought it up too, but having you on, PK, I'm really missing that trying to parent you and Stilly screaming at each other. So I'm going to bring Stilly in because he texted me. Well, he texted me last segment. I was talking about T'Vondre Sweat. I thought T'Vondre Sweat was doing some things, making a difference, and almost making some huge plays. Got to make the play.
Quarterback.
He did, but Stilly says T'Vondre Sweat almost got a sack, got lined up offsides, and we never saw him again. Yay! With like a kissing emoji or something. Anyway, what did you think of Sweat, Simmons, and those guys?
Well, I thought Sweat and those two plays hurt the team. I mean, you got to get the quarterback down in that thing, and everybody's going to say he wasn't offsides. Well, be clearly not offsides, and then you won't get called offsides. So I thought he was a little bit more disruptive, but he was credited, I think, with one quarterback hit. So he does not impact the quarterback in this regard. Stilly is correct.
We found common ground.
He is good against the run. He takes up bodies. Simmons has played better the last 4 games, and it's more disruptive and more like the good Jeffrey Simmons that we saw or that we know. So that's good. But the people who think that T'Vondre Sweat is a home run pick, I don't think. I think there's a segment of the fan base that just loves a big guy, no matter what he does or doesn't do.
BK, you brought up Levis and how this could get interesting if he continues to play like that. One thing that's really fascinating to me about this team is really regardless of what the quarterback play looks like, whether it's really poor, like we saw early in the year from Levis, average at time from Rudolph, or Levis playing really well. Like the fact that this team usually ends up anywhere from about 13 to 17 points is pretty mystifying to me. Like Levis played really well yesterday, I thought, and you still end up with 13 points. That's been an interesting way for this season to kind of break down just in terms of, I think it shows you that the offense has got some just fundamental flaws to it. Levis played probably his best game of the year yesterday, and you still end up with 13 points. And I don't know quite what to make of that.
Yeah, I'm with you. And it took a 98-yard touchdown pass for them to get in the end zone, on which, the coverage was completely blown. And outside of that, they kicked 2 field goals. It's confounding, really, that he plays that much better, and that's where they wound up. It's like a wall that just keeps them from getting near the end zone. And they're not beating anybody with 13. Well, I mean, they could beat the Jags with 13 points conceivably, but it's just got to be better. And Callahan was talking last week about needing to be, closer to 24 than 17. And certainly, people panicked about that as if he was putting a cap on it, which he was not. But 13 is unsatisfactory, and this team for too long has just not been able to score.
Well, look, and if we're going to play some transitive football, the Lions put 52 on both the Titans and the Jags, but the Titans got 14.
That's
Jags
true.
only got 6. So
There you go.
I've got Titans by 8 in that one. As stadium takeovers go, PK, how did that one rate yesterday by the opposing team's fans?
I mean, there's obviously recency bias at play, but I think it's number one. I put it at maybe 60, 65%. I'm bad at estimating things. Some people are saying 70%. It's only the second time I really remember like a real audible collective cheers. Green Bay did it earlier this year, and this was bigger than Green Bay. And I'm the more I'm thinking about it, the more comfortable I am with a 70%. And Joe, I mean, it was walking in, it was apparent that it was going to be something special because I saw, you know, I probably saw 7 Vikings fans for out of every 10 and in full regalia.
Did they have beards and like the Viking hats and stuff?
A lot of
too?
skull chants going
Yeah.
I saw women with beards.
Yeah, hey man, it's cold up there.
PK, great stuff as always. Looking forward to seeing you on Wednesday. We'll talk to you soon, man.
Take care, guys. Always fun.
Absolutely. Paul Kuharski from paulkuharski.com. Our guest. The Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up next. Corey Curtis from News 2 will be with us at 8 o'clock. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
It's just so frustrating.
He's kind of ugly, though.
It is that time of the day, time for the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. You can check it out every morning here on the program. Joseph, the floor is yours.
Thanks. I'm going to at some point talk about my son's high school football career ending. I don't think I can do that today yet. I don't think I can do that.
Need some more time.
I'm gonna shift to something that's going back and forth on the text line. I've seen a lot of this, and it's between actually Vols and Titans fans together this weekend have this, and I think this is just. I mean, every once in a while, it's probably worth talking about. This idea that just like Kuharski was saying there too, the idea that like the league somehow these bad calls is like the NFL be like, hey guys, yeah, we need to make sure the Vikings win this one, guys. Okay, let's try to live in the real world. Okay,
I thought Kansas City had the monopoly on that.
Yeah, I mean it's right. What happened to them? I guess they like Buffalo now. Crazy. This is a text that I got. An unnamed texter says, you guys really need to stop giving the refs the benefit of the doubt. It appears to me over the last year, some of these calls are so far out there, it's almost impossible to not consider the fact that they are steering games intentionally, not only NFL, but in college. And my response, and I'll just read my response. I said, I think gamblers getting to officials, as we've talked about this, is something that you absolutely have to be concerned with. And this is why, and nothing is foolproof, but this is why college is the bigger issue here. Officials should be well paid. They should get a larger piece of the pie, in my estimation, than they do now. Certainly in college sports, this, a few $1,000 a game, work as many games as you can and all this stuff. What are we doing? You have all this money and you don't think that people who do have a very, very powerful impact on the outcome of games should be well compensated to do the job as well as possible and to not be vulnerable? That's just, so there's a big picture there. But the idea that like a league, again, the NFL doesn't need anyone to win anything, guys. They don't need a certain market to do anything. I mean, and if this was a thing, then every year in the NBA, we would get New York and LA, and every single series would go to 7 games. But let's just stick with football. I mean, they don't need anything. They have look at the TV contracts. What they need is that their product has integrity. Right. And if your product doesn't have integrity and you're wrestling, you are screwed. So think about like just the logic of, yeah, they want to do this game or that game and call it in. If you have other these people in on this conspiracy, it's going to get out there. You think that, let's just call each other and let's fix this game or that game. You think you're going to keep that secret? No, you're not keeping that damn secret. And you know why we don't hear about it? Because it's not a freaking conspiracy. So can we not be this stupid about, can we try to use logic about the cost and the benefit of doing this? There's no reason to do it. Now, again, is officiating good enough? No. Should officials be paid more? Yes. Is Tim Donaghy, is he the only one ever who was compromised? Oh, I'm sure not. And I think I actually think that gambling being as transparent as it is now, even though at times I'm a little bit icked out by it, like you see the thing with the Alabama coach. I mean, at least now there is oversight everywhere and weird stuff that happens, right? Yeah. But guys, like if you are running if you're at the top of the pyramid of these leagues with all the money that is flowing through right now, the number one thing that you cannot have is a product with no integrity. Right. So you just let them play games.
Particularly in the NFL, but even look, I know Tennessee fans, it's all my timeline was yesterday before the Titans game was a missed hold there or the face mask there or the fumble call that was not a fumble in that game.
Which I think was the right call. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it was bang, bang. It's pretty close. Like I've seen worse not be called. So, but the point is, like, there are a lot of Tennessee fans that think like the fix was in for Georgia on Saturday. And it's hard for me to get there. It's just hard for me to get there. Were there some bad calls? Yeah, we've talked about this. Like, I think college football has an officiating problem. Like, a lot of times it's not very good. There's too many missed calls in some of these big games. And that's a problem they got to fix. I don't think it's, oh, well, they need Georgia to win this game, so let's make the calls for Georgia.
They don't need
or
it.
We hate Tennessee, which is the more prevalent theme. It was less about Georgia.
Right.
We hate Tennessee, and we don't like their fan base. We got to keep them out. And I don't think that's what we saw.
Yeah.
Could be wrong.
Look,
but I don't think it's what we saw.
First of all, the Georgia game, I mean, even in slow motion, he was started to bobble it right away. I mean, I'm sorry, but like when I first, in real life, I was like, in real time, I'm like, oh, it looks like a fumble. Then, oh yeah, okay, that's right. The face mask. This is kind of like the Titans calling the end zone. No, look, if you're a ref, there's no review on this. So if you're a ref, you see the hand around the helmet, you see the helmet pop off. You're probably erring on the side of you throw the flag. Yes, and replay it. I don't know. Some people tell me actually on replay it shows he grabbed it. If he did, it was like and it got, I mean, it's an unfortunate call because the helmet coming off was not because of the face man. It was like his hand in the back of the helmet. But like to act like, and I'm sorry, like it was funny with Josh Heupel the other night. We're sitting there. I'm sitting right behind Sparkles, and Heupel gives him the mic and stuff. But also, hey Josh, like, don't let them come down the field and dominate you in the second half.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and I get it. Like, there are times where it's like, there's two things that can be true with this too, where it's like you lost because of other things, but if you still call out the refs if they're bad, if they screw things up. And the Titans they had some terrible calls at their expense. That happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it is always going to happen. And you try it. I mean, really, like, I'll take up for the refs. I can't. I'm with you. Like the ridiculous statement afterward and the way the leagues protect them and don't let them sit up there and answer questions and be accountable and tell us what their punishments are. These are all things that piss me off. But also, go try it. Go out there in real time with a whistle and tell me you're just boom, boom, getting all these calls right. We all sit at home and watch it in slow motion, and it's so easy and so obvious. You give it a shot.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about that. Hey, look, I said this earlier. The Titans, it feels like they're just on the wrong end of it right now, right? When you think back to the LA game and that fumble call that was, in my opinion, botched by the officials. And now you have what we saw yesterday with the Brownlee call, certainly with the Mike Brown call in the end zone. Like, it just feels like every crucial call right now, the Titans are on the other side of. Is that because there's like a conspiracy against the Titans? I don't think so. But there's no doubt they're not getting any breaks right now from the officials. It's not been very good.
Does the NFL hate country music?
I don't know.
Or maybe Taylor Swift. Maybe they want her out of the league and she's from Nashville. I mean, who knows? There's a lot of possibilities here.
Well, that flies in the face of the Kansas City thing, though. If it's a Taylor Swift bias.
Well, they just lost yesterday, so maybe we're starting to see it's a turnaround to change. Yeah.
Maybe so. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Corey Curtis from News 2 will be with us coming up next. We'll get his thoughts on the Titans' loss to Minnesota at Nissan Stadium yesterday. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Final hour, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you. And as we do every Monday morning at 8 o'clock, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in our friend Corey Curtis from News 2. Corey, good morning. How are you?
Better than my man, Cairo Santos.
Yeah, good kick by him yesterday. Nice trajectory to it.
Big winner. Big winner.
It's a tough one.
Well, you know what? The victory for me is I thought we were going to lose by 3 touchdowns.
That's true. It was close.
At least they just got to blow it instead.
Right. So they got your hopes up, whereas you could have been totally prepared. Right.
Yeah, as prepared as Jaguar fans were for yesterday.
Oh yeah, that one went pretty well for old Jacksonville. Mac Jones.
That's what I call easy money. I mean, look, you're not going to have an NFL line be 28 points, but anything 24 points or under, I was taking the Lions to cover.
Well, Corey, Titans fall to 2-8. Will Levis, 295 yards through the air, had the 98-yarder to NWI. And
minus 50, he lost on the penalty.
Yep, exactly. Lost another touchdown pass to Ridley as well. So I think we would all agree the last 2 weeks have been good for Levis. He's taken a step in the right direction. What did you make of his performance yesterday and what it may mean for him now moving forward?
Well, I think, the big things for me are, it looks like he's starting to get his confidence back a little bit. It looks like, I don't know if I say it's slowed down for him or not, but, he's throwing more accurately, more decisively. He's doing Will Levis stuff, as I like to say, which is the bigger shots deep, hitting on those. I don't think, I know the Ridley pass doesn't count, but the fact that they've connected back-to-back weeks on big ones, I think is important, because that's something we've been harping on for months now, is the lack of connection between those guys. And that connection looks like it's coming together. We saw more arm talent throws from him. You're not seeing the big mistake, from him. And, yesterday that was a defense primed for the big mistake. And, the 98-yarder, he saw the coverage, he went after it, he made the throw. I mean, he deserves credit for that. Now, ultimately, they still only have 13 points. And he still doesn't have a win this year, as he pointed out. Those are the big things. But as I like to say, wins and losses weren't what I was looking at for this season. So, as we look at that, the last 2 weeks are progress. And, I just joked about the Jaguars, and while these are both 2-win teams and both is a horribly depressing season, I think there's definitely a different spin on, yesterday's performance in Nashville as opposed to the one in Detroit.
Yeah, I said it earlier. I mean, the Titans and Jags both came up 52 lines, but the Titans did score 14 as opposed to the Jags with 6. So the Titans are better than the Jags. That's my conclusion.
With the backup quarterback, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So right tackle, Corey. Let's take the Isaiah Prince up. We can talk about that too and the illegal formations. But Nicholas Petit-Frere yesterday had a few reps. After which I said, I can't believe that guy's actually in the NFL. Like, an NFL player made those plays. And I also, again, I was wrong, but I thought we saw some promise as a rookie. He had some good performances as a rookie. I mean, PFF sure thought so. And what the heck has happened to that guy?
Well, I just think it's a loss of confidence, because you're right. I mean, as a rookie, it wasn't great, but you saw promise with him. But coaches talk about confidence. When guys get victories and they get confidence, that's when they just start playing instead of thinking about what they're doing and trying to do what they're doing. They just start reacting and winning and making plays. And I think in his head right now, he's in a blender, and he's off balance and off guard, and it's just he's a mess. He's a mess right now. Look, I'm not saying that I think he's going to ever be a great right tackle. I mean, shoot, it may be over for him if he can't rally the troops. But this is certainly the worst of him. I compare it to Levis, where struggling with his confidence, struggling, in the offense. And then he gets a little confidence, and all of a sudden you're making plays downfield. He's got to find a way to make some confidence if he's going to be effective at all. Look, he's not a combatant. That's been it from the start, and that will always be a problem in my estimation in holding him back. But not a combatant and not confident makes you Andre Dillard. And right now he's looking more like Andre Dillard than the Nicholas Petit-Frere we saw his rookie year.
So Corey, had a lot of thoughts on this today. So interested to get yours. Your thoughts on the officiating yesterday, the blunder on the Mike Brown call, and where that kind of stacks up in terms of some horrid officiating performances in the National Football League.
Well, what was the final penalty number? Like 13-2?
It was pretty bad. I'll go look at the specific one.
Yeah. And look, good teams don't commit penalties and bad teams do. So there's some to that, but that is awfully lopsided. And I am never one to blame officials for wins and losses. It's a thankless job. And they're doing, the best that they can. But when you're going to pull that hanky out in a play that changed the game, you better be sure. And, on 3rd and 6, you're throwing an illegal formation penalty right off the bat. You're saying, whatever the Titans do, I'm going to can this play. And, I know the guy's got to get on the line of scrimmage and lined up. You see the video, it's marginal at best. Marginal on the touchdown throw. To me, that's more of, hey, inch it up a little bit more than I'm going to throw the flag on this one because this is so egregious. We've all seen egregious tackle lined up in the backfield. We all know what that looks like, and that's not what that looks like. So that's just injecting yourself into the game, and that's not an official's job in my estimation. Now, 2 officials threw the flag on the play in the end zone, but again, that's 4th down. That's a huge play. That's 7 points instead of 0 points. So that's a 14-point swing with those 2 plays. And that's tough. Did they technically call him for launching? Or
they later said that even in the pool report.
Yeah. Well, his feet never left the ground.
Right.
Did he hit him high? Yeah, but he also hit him right in the chest with his shoulder. And it's tough when 2 officials see the same thing. If only one official had called it, maybe they overruled him. But 2 officials called it. And look, I understand what Mike Brown's doing. He's trying to separate man from ball, and trying to do it legally. It's a tough call. It's a tough job. I understand they have a tough job. They do, and protecting players is a part of their job now. So I get that. But again, there's a game awareness for officials just like there is for players. And I know they're going to say, we're going to call 1st and 10 just like we would 4th and 10. Well, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Because what do we see at the end of games? We see guys get mugged and no call because they let them play.
Well, I think they need to make the right call in any situation. But when I saw that play, Corey, in real time, it looked like I was not surprised to see flags. Like, yep, there's a blast to the head, and you just So like in real time, it seemed like a right call. Then we all watched the slow-mo replay. Oh no, he didn't launch, and he hit him in the shoulder. It's just a bad call. So in college they have targeting, right? And so because of the targeting, which can be a game ejection for the player, they have the review mechanism, and I just feel like this is something where these guys can be saved from bad calls if you have this, and maybe even have more consequence for a play like this, if that's what it takes. But I think there should be reviews.
Well, we have New York review for like turnovers and even spotting of ball. We've seen booth review, where they come down and say, with aid from the booth, it's a 1st down. So why can't they say with aid from the booth, this was not a personal foul?
It's a great question.
And look, you can say, well, are you going to do holding? Are you going to do false start? I mean, are you going to do illegal formation? You know, with Abe from the booth, it was not legal formation. You know, people can always look. I always talk to my daughter about this. There's two kinds of people in the world: people who look for reasons to say yes, and people who look for reasons to say no. There are smart people who can figure out solutions, and you may not have the perfect solution the first time. So just like with the kickoff, you keep working on it and you keep making changes until you get it right. And I think, you know, they have changed the review process some to add some things. And I think as technology improves, and the speed to which they can review and change improves, I think it will happen. But because you're right, there's no reason to not fix a mistake. And, you know, I'm a big proponent of replay should only turn over obvious mistakes, not splitting hairs mistakes of, hey, we went frame by frame and that showed that. That was ridiculous. But when you see an obvious one where, like in this situation, the booth could have phoned down and said, yeah, he just hit him in the chest. That's a legal hit. That wouldn't have taken very long. I mean, we all saw it. That wouldn't have taken long at all. There was no splitting hairs on that. And so I think there's definite room for improvement there and change there.
Is Doug Peterson getting canned today? You think is today the day?
I mean, look, you know, if your team quits on you, that's always like, you know, the big thing of, you know, you gotta change. But you know, I didn't watch the game. I didn't need to watch that game to know what was going to happen. I mean, look, you could have had Vince Lombardi coaching the Jaguars with Mac Jones at quarterback. They're going to lose by 4 touchdowns because he's terrible. But that team's terrible. They're headed in the wrong direction. Like firing Doug Peterson now doesn't change their season. All it can do is, hey, we need a different voice because this thing's going south. I personally would like to see them finish the year with Doug Peterson and just see how bad this thing can get.
By the way, real quick, you know, and I think of course it'll happen right after the show ends at 9:03. Trent Baalke is their GM. 6 seasons.
Yeah.
30-64. Still got his job.
Good for him.
Still got his job. 30-64. No problem.
They picked in the top 10 since he's been there.
They've had a few.
A lot.
Yeah, I mean, they were like the Oilers were from the Edmonton Oilers from a few years ago, where they just picked the top 5 every year, and they still can't get it right. And it's I was talking with have you met Julian, our new sports weekend anchor?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he went to his first Titans game yesterday, and he's moved here from the West Coast. And so we were having a long talk about the AFC South yesterday. And I said, there's no team in this division whose fans have a greater sense of self than the Jacksonville Jaguars. I said, Titan fans went into this season largely thinking if we can be 500 or a little better, that would be tremendous. Jaguar fans go into every season saying Trevor Lawrence is the top 5 quarterback, and we're going to the AFC Championship. They're absolutely nuts. They're just a disaster of a franchise, and I don't know how they fix it. I don't. They're like a plane that never stops crashing.
I don't get the sense that Corey Curtis is very popular down there in Duval.
No, they're not. I'm not. If you check my Twitter feed, quite often the Jaguar fans really don't like me, and that's fine.
I don't think you care.
That's fine.
I didn't. I
don't.
That's fun.
They can get in line. You know, southernmost Georgia is not my favorite place.
Oh, good stuff. Corey, thanks for taking time to be with us. Great stuff as always. That was a beautiful way to end this thing. We'll talk to you next week.
The Predators won.
They did.
They did.
Late night win in Vancouver.
Even Stamkos scored twice.
Yeah, he did. A couple of just rips that he had too. There's a positive somewhere.
So we'll get a 5-on-5 goal before the season.
Well, maybe at some point. Corey, we'll talk to you next week.
All right. I'll see you guys. Joe, I'll see you at noon.
No. Okay, maybe. Okay.
We'll see.
Yeah, sometime.
Okay.
At some point. Yep.
Yep.
We'll see you.
Right, well, then I'll talk about you.
Okay. Please do. All right.
Corey Curtis from News 2, our guest here on Robby and Rex. So we'll react to what Corey had to say, take more of your thoughts here on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Titans lose 23-13 to Minnesota. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Titans lose 23-13 to Minnesota. They dropped to 2-8 on the regular season. By the way, the penalty count, Corey brought that up. 13 penalties for the Titans yesterday, 3 for the Minnesota Vikings. The official count, 13-3.
Yeah, I know it was, like what, 8-0 at one point, something like that. Yep. And guys, this is Roger Goodell. Vikings need to win convincingly. I got a lot on part of my parlay. Thank you.
Right. Big Sam Darnold guy, that Roger Goodell.
Yeah. I'm muting and unmuting myself. Yeah, I actually am very appreciative. Not a lot of pushback on the text line.
Yeah.
Thank you, text line, for confirming my faith in you.
By the way, 24 first downs for Minnesota yesterday, just 11 for the Titans. 24-11, first down edge.
Titans were feast or famine.
Yeah, they were.
Pretty much. Were not able to sustain a lot. Someone says 95%, but it wasn't 95% Viking fans. I'm pretty sure about that. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. I'm sorry, text line. Here's a text. I left the game right after that call. Knew the ref wasn't going to let the Titans have a chance to win. Vegas is going to make sure the Vikings cover that point spread. I'm done with the NFL. All the games are fixed. Yeah, Vegas, like all of Vegas was just completely hinging on the Titans Vikings point spread. They had to have the Vikings cover the point spread. Huge money on that one in particular. Come on, people. Refs make bad calls. So. Refs are human beings. They make bad calls. Now, again, when you see something real fishy, then what you need to wonder about is the individual doing the fishy stuff. But this whole the league wants to be pro wrestling and completely gut itself. But just think about the absolute absence of logic in any of this conversation.
Let's go back to our 102.5 The Game phone line. Welcome in Adam in Portland. Adam, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Joe, I know everything I've said through the years you think is 100% like legit and good, and so I'm probably going to hurt your feelings with this one because I'm going to put on my conspiracy theorist hat. But Friday night, Jake Paul, Tyson, fixed. Saturday night with the Vols, felt fixed. And then Sunday with the Titans, felt fixed. It was a whole weekend of it, dude. Like I'm not.
Do not put Jake Paul, Tyson in with. I mean that may have been. I have no idea. That whole thing is stupid. But that's not this, right? I mean that's just a fight.
Hey, you could bet on anything. That's my point.
Right?
Here. But look,
yes, you can.
Jake Paul's fighting Rexrode next.
Here's the problem, though, dude. Like. Well, you got a problem, right? Like, and the problem is that you have a bunch of Titans fans who pay a lot of money, which you can't defend a 2-loss team very much. But with that being said, dude, like I know the good teams get good calls. That was so blatant, and we pay.
What call in particular? What call in particular? Because we've gone through it. I mean, we all agree that the launching call was bad. But what call in particular did you say? The NFL is in on this. Which one?
When you go 3 times in a row with that new tackle in there,
wow.
I think it's because you could call that any time, just like you can call holding any time, Joe.
But we've seen that this year in the league, which is stupid. I agree, it's stupid. It's a point of emphasis. We saw it earlier this year where it's like, really, you're going to keep? What game was that?
It was the Ravens Chiefs.
The Ravens Chiefs game.
They called it on the Ravens like 5 times.
Are you guys really
what are we doing?
I mean, look, 2 of those calls with Prince were right, in my opinion. He was off. Now, one of them, it looked like he had fixed it. But I mean, dude. The NFL is not. The NFL doesn't give a crap who won the game yesterday. They do not give a crap.
But it got to the point.
Not
where
a rat's ass.
The Titans had to pick. Could this dude block or can this dude line up correctly? They had to pick between that, which is incredible that we're at this point. So it's also sad
I'm with
to be
you
a
on
Titans
that.
fan. We're looking for excuses. I understand, but at the same time, dude, it was so hard to sit through it. Did you not think? And this is the last thing. I'll let you go. When he launched that 50-yard pass, were you not sitting here going, "It's probably not going to hold up"? That's what I was doing. Like, I wasn't like, hey, yeah, touchdown. I'm sitting here going, let's see if there's laundry. And it came in, and it felt late coming in.
I thought he threw it pretty quickly on that
one. Did you see the ref's face? He looked like he wanted to smile making that call, dude. Like, it was pitiful. It hurt my feelings yesterday.
Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, look, the illegal formation stuff, I'm largely with Corey in that discussion. Like, unless it's just absolutely egregious, then I think we're getting into just the minutia on that stuff that's just ridiculous and a waste of all of our time.
It's a huge waste of our time.
Yeah, I'm glad because, they talked about it being a point of emphasis, and they do this a lot. Everything's a point of emphasis at the beginning of the year. And the first week, the refs are going to throw the flag left and right in hopes that gets people in line to do whatever they're trying to do.
But usually it's like stuff that I get
right.
why it would be.
Well,
yeah.
But then it fades, right? It's a
yes.
point of emphasis, and then it doesn't end up being a point of emphasis as the year goes. You know, after the second one yesterday, I was just like, oh, so we doing this again? It's just going to be a nice big illegal formation fest out there.
Yeah. Again, like one of them, I was like, yeah, he is kind of lined up like he's the H-back.
Yeah, one of them was pretty bad.
Like he kind of got better, but they kept calling. Yeah.
And apparently they warned him before they threw the first flag. That's what they also said in the pool report. Very, very educational pool report yesterday.
It was extensive.
Yeah.
Dennis says, we need huge ratings for the Super Bowl. Make sure Sam Darnold's in there. Yes, exactly, Dennis. William says, refs are humans and make bad calls. Callers are human and make bad texts. Well, that
can happen.
That might be it happens. I get it, guys. Yeah, I get it. You know, you're looking for answers, but it's just Joe is on the payroll of Vegas also. There you go. Well, maybe it is. Maybe we're all. Hey, I've heard Stilly say that like NFL media is all in the conspiracy of saying the cap is real to help the owners keep up the ruse. So, I mean, hey, actually, I've heard him talk about conspiracies with the league. So maybe he can get it on this today.
More on the Titans' 23-13 loss to the Vikings yesterday. What do we make of Will Levis's performance, and how does it influence the quarterback discussion as a whole for the Titans moving forward? We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Does this loss feel different for you coming out of the game where you feel like you played pretty well compared to some of the
I don't know. I mean, honestly, like I felt like last week in terms of just how I threw the ball, I was more accurate and I made some better decisions here and there. But I was a little frustrated with a couple of the balls that I'm going to be watching on tape. But I just all I want to do is win, man. Like there's nothing else matters, and it's been frustrating. It's been tough, but I mean, I haven't won a game this year. Like I'm chasing that feeling, and I'm doing everything I can to get there.
As Will Levis after the game yesterday, Titans lose 23-13 to Minnesota. Will Levis with a pretty good day statistically, had the 98-yard touchdown pass to NWI, 17 of 31, 295 yards, touchdown, 1 interception at the end of the game, quarterback rating of 84.7. So, Joe, we've talked a lot about Levis today. Back-to-back weeks where he's played well. Certainly has taken a step forward from where he was earlier this year. And I guess the big picture question is, what does it mean? Like, what does this mean in terms of his evaluation, where he currently sits with the Titans, the organization, the decision makers about his future, and what can still be done this season? What's still left to be found out of Will Levis as it relates to the quarterback position? We've talked about this. You know, the front office, what is their status going to look like at the end of the year? You know, it's a 2-8 football team right now. What's it going to be at the end of the year? Is it 4-13? Is it 2-15? Is it 5-12? Like, what does it look like at the end of the year?
Some enticing options.
Yeah,
there.
really good stuff that's on the table, I think.
Do a poll.
Titans.
Which would you prefer?
Yeah. Well, hey, I think we know the answer. Tankathon. Titans are up to number 2 now. Number 2 overall pick behind Jacksonville. So congratulations for that. But I think it's encouraging from the standpoint of it was so bad earlier this year. It now feels like he's kind of settled in a little bit. And again, it's funny to say that because it again led to 13 points for the Tennessee Titans yesterday, but he has played objectively better football the last 2 weeks. So trying to see what that's going to mean for him moving forward is really interesting. I'm glad to see him play well the last 2 weeks. I'm not going to sit here the Monday after a 23-13 loss to Minnesota and overreact about it. Can he keep doing it? Like, where does he go from here? Is this a 2-week thing where he's just gotten a little hot and starting to play a little bit better? Can he continue to do this against Houston next week? I'm interested to see where this goes from here. But good on him for making it interesting because I wasn't convinced he ever was going to make it interesting this year.
Yeah, well, we've said, we've basically been begging for it. Like, somebody do something different. They're not doing anything different. They're losing and scoring in the teens, but he is. So we appreciate it. And yeah, I just think it's just, can he keep stacking it? The thing is, again, Chargers and the Vikings, like those are good defenses. Those are good pass rushes. We've seen the pass rush work pretty well for the opponent. So, and now you go to Houston, not getting any easier. I mean, and I assume, I don't know, like, I don't even know, like, Will Anderson's playing tonight. He didn't play against the Lions, but, you know, if you assume he'll be back by then you add one more guy. I mean, Danico Autry, who knows what kind of wrecking of a game he might do at the Titans' expense.
Well, we know what he used to do against the Colts when he was going up against his former team. So,
yes. So he's doing it. He is, to me, performing well. And it's interesting, his evaluation, it sounded like he kind of right after the game thought he played better last week. I think this was the best overall that he's played in the NFL, just because, yeah, it's just, first of all, again, you have to, like, that defense is hard. I mean, everybody talks about it. Every single quarterback in the league is like, man, that stuff's crazy. And certainly it wasn't perfect. They scored 13 points, but I thought he really made them pay and just made some big time throws. The big time throws weren't there early in the year, along with the mistakes that were. Now the mistakes are out of there. The ridiculous mistakes are out of there for the time being, and the big time throws are popping up more often. So, and there is a time coming when he'll have some easier defenses to face too. And so, can he just keep building, and can they figure it out? They're obviously not figuring out right tackle.
No.
So, they still, it seemed like yesterday they just had some gaffes in terms of communication and protections that were like, just, you got to clean that up. If you do, give him a little bit more of a chance, get back to running the ball with some success, then he should have some good games ahead of him.
Well, what you said about the big time throws is probably the most encouraging thing. Yes, it's encouraging that you've eliminated some of the bad mistakes for the time being, and you got to keep that up as you move forward. Like you're never going to be perfect playing quarterback, but you can't have some of the egregious mistakes that he was making early in the year. But coupled with that, there were very few plays early in the year where you're like, wow, what a nice play by Levis there. What a good throw by Levis. And you've started to see more of those the last couple of weeks. Why is it all of a sudden happening now? I don't know, but it has the last 2 weeks. And look, I realize, the NWI play, it was a blown coverage. The dude fell down in the route, but still a great throw. I mean, he hit NWI right in stride. Will the blitz coming right up the middle. It was a great throw by Will Levis there. Made a couple other throws in the game that were big time throws. Again, it wasn't perfect, but when you see him do that, that's a performance like that yesterday, and some of the passes that he made is why people get enamored with him sometimes, right? It's like, okay, well, there's a big time NFL level throw that really good quarterbacks make in this league. And he's certainly got to find a way to make them more consistently than he has to this point. But a couple of those throws yesterday, you were just like, okay, well, that's what you're looking for from that position. And it hasn't happened often enough this year. We'll see if it does moving forward. But I thought more than anything, I would think when you go back and watch the film, a confidence-inspiring performance from him yesterday, if you're him looking at it at the end of it.
Yeah, and it seems like you can see his confidence growing a little bit. And again, you're talking about the injury, the ridiculous turnovers, basically the whole city deciding pretty quick, okay, please leave.
Yeah.
I mean, that happened. That's all happened this fall. You get that little break, get healthy, and it's pretty close to as realistically as good as you could have hoped since then, which again still isn't great. So got to keep that in mind too. But it has made the rest of the season interesting from that perspective, because there's not an easy answer at all for quarterback, even if you're at the very top of the draft.
Exactly. And, that conversation is not going away. Like, it's going to take more than what he did yesterday from a consistent basis. And look, some people, it really doesn't matter what he does the rest of the year. They're going to be out on Levis the whole way. What I'd be interested to know is, where was Brian Callahan and Rand Carthon and the Titans decision makers on this 2 weeks ago? And has the way he's played the last 2 weeks, has it changed that at all in terms of their viewpoint of him moving forward? And that's what I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
It's a great question. Well, it's like the big circle. Like, what's their viewpoint of him? What's Amy's viewpoint of them? What's, it's like,
there's also that.
What do they all think of each other?
Let's get out and just have a big group powwow in here. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Should we all just fire everybody and release everybody? Or how about Will? Do you like us, Will? Would you like to leave?
Yeah, it's a very fascinating dynamic that they've got going on. And then you factor in yesterday as well, Joe. They didn't run the ball at all. 19 carries, 33 yards as a team for the Titans yesterday, which equates to 1.7 yards per attempt. Not a whole lot happening on the ground yesterday.
Yeah, and the Vikings, they're all over everything. And that's a very good defense. And it is disappointing because you kind of expect to have some success with this. That's what this offensive line has done, certainly way better than pass blocking. And Power's been really good, but they just shut it down. So to me, that kind of makes the 295 more impressive. It's because it's not like it was like empty calories and garbage time. And it was a competitive game. And, until the very end, he throws one up and gets the pick, unfortunately for him. But yeah, the running game has to be part of the answer. Dylan says, I thought Levis's pocket awareness was better yesterday. He actually stepped forward, could feel people around him, didn't stress him out as much. Thought he hung in there, took a hit when needed. He just seems a bit more confident. Maybe it's because he saw Rudolph was playing better than him while he was sitting out. Who knows? But I like him, and I want him to succeed. Yeah, look, it's nothing to get all super excited about, but it's interesting. Let's see if he can keep it going.
And again,
get better.
The most interesting part of all to me is they always find a way to end up in the teens. Doesn't matter how the quarterback plays. Doesn't matter what's going on around them. They're in the teens offensively. And they were again yesterday, even the low teens, 13.
Yeah. They find a way one way or another. Death taxes and the Titans in the mid-teens.
It's kind of unbelievable. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Final thoughts on the Titans 23-13 loss to Minnesota. Coming up next, you're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Tune in to Stillman and Company today from 2 to 6 for your chance to win Jelly Roll tickets for his performance at Bridgestone Arena coming up on Tuesday, November 26th. Jelly Roll ticket contest supplied by Chiba Hut Subs, serving up dank food and chill vibes, now open in Donaldson. So make sure you check that out. Taking your final thoughts of the day on the Titans' 23-13 loss to the Minnesota Vikings. Titans dropped to 2-8 on the season. And yes, for those of you who care about this, according to tankathon.com, the Titans have now moved up to the number 2 overall pick. Jacksonville's at 1 at 2-9 after they got obliterated by Detroit yesterday. Titans at 2-8, the number 2 overall pick right
Congratulations.
now. There are some people that really care about that.
Hey, tell you what, Levis keeps playing well. You get the number 1 pick. Someone somehow is enamored with Ward, Sanders, somebody, and you trade down for a bounty, and you're sort of repeating history, right?
Yeah.
Except that was like the first thing John Robinson did as GM. Served him pretty well.
It did.
But these guys could use a boost like that.
It served him pretty well. It's it really is amazing to watch. You brought up Nicholas Petit-Frere. He had a couple of snaps yesterday where I was just like, I don't know that you could play any worse than he played on a couple of those snaps. Like, it's pretty amazing. Like, look, we talked about him heading into the year. Even for somebody like me who wasn't really sold on him heading into the year, he wasn't this bad.
My God,
like, he was not anywhere close to this bad. Like, you're talking, this is Andre Dillard, maybe worse than Andre Dillard.
Just falling
just on the
down
other side
and letting just turnstile stuff.
It's awful.
It's bad. No, I'm getting it. I'm into it with somebody on the text line about how bad he was a rookie. I mean, look, whatever measure you want to do, go back and watch the games or look at the PFF grades or whatever. He was a serviceable rookie, and he seemed to get worse later in the year.
And he took his lumps at times, but all rookies do.
Yeah, that rookie year, anybody wants to try to revise history, and he was just terrible. It's just the same thing. That's not true. It's not true. And Bill Callahan obviously looked at that film and the 5 minutes of film from last year, I guess, and decided that he could work at right tackle. And we're also getting texts about Bill Callahan. You know what? It's fair. It's fair to ask why he thought that.
Yeah.
2, why he hasn't been able to help him why he has regressed as a player this year. This is the worst he's ever played football. I'm confident in saying that. I mean, just because you probably dominated high school and he was fine at Ohio State. I mean, like Aiden Hutchinson ate his lunch, but I mean, this is like he has regressed. Why? I mean, it's a fair question. The right tackle, the whole thing. It's fair to ask why the offensive line guru hasn't had more success. It's not his fault that Cushenberry gets hurt, but overall, it's just a really bad offensive line, and I figured there would be more of a positive impact than there has been.
Yep, no doubt about it. And it's not getting any better, right? Like, so we're talking about Levis, the pressure that he was under yesterday. He took 5 sacks, got hit 9 times in the pocket yesterday. Right tackles, they're clearly grasping at straws. Like, they're bringing in people off the practice squad and signing people off of other people's practice. Like, you've reached the point where you're just trying to find anything that's got a pulse out there that can get in the way of somebody. So to sit here and think that that's going to get better as the season moves along here, I think is probably not living in reality. So how much can you overcome that if you're the Titans? Yes, to your point, not every defense you see is going to be like the Chargers last week or Minnesota. You got a pretty good one coming up this week against Houston. You do have Jacksonville still twice on the schedule, so I guess that's good.
I know you've got some weeks where you might actually have a little comfort in the pocket and have a chance to make some plays.
Got the Colts again. Like, they're not exactly world beaters at getting after the quarterback. So
they got after your guy yesterday, though.
They did. Shout out to the Jets. Did you see the stat where apparently Aaron Rodgers' winning percentage as Jets quarterback is worse than like Mike White and Zach Wilson? It's pretty amazing.
That is wild. Let me get to this text real quick. It's insane to me how we keep talking about Levis individually without addressing Callahan's coaching of him and lack of tailoring the offense to his skill set. Levis and Burrow, different QBs. It's a long text. So I understand what you're saying. Levis, as we saw the other day, throwing the ball down the field. But again, here's a problem. If you can't protect your quarterback, then you can't do some of those things. I think that, Brian Callahan has talked all along how he understands he has a different skill set, and he understands that his strength is going downfield. And they've had plays where they've gone downfield. They've gone successfully downfield. Should they do it more? Yes. They also need a burner at receiver, all due respect to NWI and his dominant season. And they need to protect him again and again and again. And it continues to come back to that for me in terms of this offense averaging 16 points a game.
Well, by the way, they had some shots earlier in the year down the field that he just missed on. Like him and Ridley have missed on a lot of those. And now they're starting to connect, which is exactly what we've been waiting for. Now, can that continue as they move ahead here? I know the one got taken off the board yesterday, but still, I think it's good to see that connection continue to build.
Yep. Things are looking up for your 2-8 Titans, everybody. That's the bottom line, okay? Get excited.
I'm just glad we're not talking about the draft today. I'm sure we will at some point.
We keep putting it off.
Way to go, Will Levis. Nice performance.
Thank you, Will.
That does it for us today. We'll be back 6 a.m. tomorrow. Chasing Big Joe coming up next. You're listening to 102.5, 106.3 The Game.